couple of years ago, would you ever thought that Atletico could come back from a 2 or 3 goal deficit? That's not their DNA. It's not what their DNA has been. This is a different Atletico Madrid side, one that comes out and can attack, can use the counterattack, can use it in so many different ways, and be able to find goals, something that we haven't been able to say about Simeone's sides in the past.
It was kind of a game of two halves. Of every 5 minutes, it seemed to go one end to the other. 68% possession for Barcelona, so they had plenty more of the ball compared to 32% for Atletico Madrid. Many more shots on target, but ultimately it's the scoreline that tells the story.
Yeah, I mean, what a match. I mean, just absolutely crazy. And, you know, it's interesting because we have a lot to say about this match, and look at the momentum. And I think that's the craziest thing.
If that was a heart rate chart of someone in hospital, you'd be saying, this person is seriously ill.
Yeah, it's not going to go well for them. But what I think is interesting about this match, too, is it's just both of these teams, it is so different than when Barcelona and Atlético Madrid used to play back in the heyday of La Liga with Messi and all of these players that have been part of this great rivalry. But to see that this Atletico Madrid side, first Barcelona, no pressure, comes back, go down 2-0, takes a 4-2 lead like nothing. These youngsters don't feel the same pressure that maybe some of the veterans do. But then Atletico Madrid, a couple of years ago, would you ever thought that Atletico could come back from a 2 or 3 goal deficit? That's not their DNA. It's not what their DNA has been. This is a different Atletico Madrid side, one that comes out and can attack, can use the counterattack, can use it in so many different ways, and be able to find goals, something that we haven't been able to say about Simeone's sides in the past.
Football is one hell of a drug, shall we say. If you're speaking to someone who's never watched it before, just tell them to watch that game and they'll be absolutely hooked. Yeah. Let's talk about this Barcelona team. We mentioned the fact that there were so many youngsters in it. That's really been the case throughout the whole season. They have got experience in the likes of Lewandowski, but they have to lean so much on these youngsters. And one of the big advantages for me when I watch them, and I watch these young players, is they're just completely and utterly fearless. They just go for it.
Yeah, and you saw it with Lamine Yamal, right, on Lewandowski's goal, where any player looks at that, if your name isn't Lionel Messi or something like that, you look at what he had in front of him for that Lewandowski goal, and most players won't even take that on. They won't even go for it at that point. When they have so many defenders in their way, he has no fear, just goes right through and is able to find Lewandowski. These players don't have, it must be nice, right, to be that young and to play with no fear, and when it doesn't even matter. And when you have a player like a Lamine Yamal, like the other players, like a Pedri, that, you know, just come from winning a huge title with Spain last summer, and then be able to come into these games where, oh, this is what we're playing for? I just won a European title at 17 years old or 18, 19 years old, to then come into this match with zero pressure and be able to find ways to, doesn't matter whether you go down 2, go down 3, you still find ways to continue to play your same football, not to change the way or the tactic or the way that you're even attacking the game as an individual. It is impressive to see, and it is something that maybe can carry this Barcelona side to winning a trophy this year.
Kubasi celebrated that goal like a kid at recess. Yeah. It was like an 8-year-old scoring the first ever goal at break time. With it poised as it is, which team do you think will be most happy going into the second leg with this result?
I would have to say probably Atletico Madrid, just because of the way the game played out, because they were down 4-2 in the 84th minute.
And they're at home, aren't they, for the second?
Right, and they're coming back home for this, so for them to able to come back and get those 2 goals to tie the match at 4-4 before going back to the Metropolitano. Massive for them, and they'll feel a lot more comfortable, a lot more happy with this win, with this result going into the second leg.
You mentioned in the first comment about the fact that this is a different team under Diego Simeone for Atletico Madrid for so many years. And then they were such an impressive side, but in a completely different way, very defensive. They would dig in. They were hard to beat. They'd beat you 1-0, 2-1. Yep. Do you think it's just because of the personnel that he's now got at his disposal, so many more exciting attacking players, that he's able to play this way? Or is it also, we must tip our hat to Simeone, who's developed his own managerial style to incorporate something a bit more attacking?
I think it's a little bit of both, because he ultimately makes the decisions on most of the decisions on who's coming to the club. And he signed some players that would make them a lot more of an attacking team. You would have never, ever seen a Diego Simeone's side a couple of years ago finish a match 4-4. I mean, it's almost unheard of. And I give him credit, because guess what? this team is a lot more fun to watch now. It's a team that you have to kind of watch every single week because you don't know when to have a match like this. And Julian Alvarez, I think, has been dropped like a dime into this team. It took a little bit of time, but eventually is now in some of the best form, one of the best strikers, I think, are most informed strikers in the entire world. And, oh, yeah, you have a guy in Alexander Sørloth coming off the bench and just cannot stop scoring off of the bench, too. They have a system and a format now that's very different. And I think Simeone has adapted and said, okay, these are the players I'm bringing in, so I need to adapt my style. So I will give him credit for that, to say, okay, I've played this way forever. Maybe now it's time to change it up a little bit with the players that I have, and he's done it. In this competition, in the Champions League, in the title race in La Liga, do you think when we look at the 11 there, Julian Alvarez is the guy that other teams fear the most? From those three teams? Well, no, from the Athletic. When you're playing against Atletico Madrid as a Barcelona or Real Madrid or whoever else, is this the guy that you think, right, we've got to try and keep him quiet? Yeah. Griezmann is still up there as well because he's still just in incredible form and he just continues to do it. But this is the main man right here. And the goals are incredible, but that second goal that Griezmann scores, he creates it. He intercepts a ball in the midfield. Remember, this is a striker. He's a number 9, out-and-out striker. Steals a ball in the midfield, takes 3 defenders with him, and then puts a absolutely perfect cross with 3 defenders in his face right on Antoine Griezmann's boot, and he eventually finishes with a goal. So you're seeing all of the tools from this Julian Alvarez, and what I've noticed as well, in the biggest moments, he shows up, and not just at club level. We saw it at the international level. At the World Cup, he was fantastic when Argentina won the World Cup. He was, next to Messi, probably the second best player on that side. And now with Atleti, like I said, it took a little time to get used to the Spanish league, but now he is clearly one of the most informed strikers in the world, and he's doing it in multiple ways. They've also got an ace in the hole, which is Alexander Sørloth. He keeps coming off the bench and scoring these goals. And I've said this a few times. I watched him a lot when he was at Crystal Palace, and I did not see anything like this. He was terrible. A lot of the Palace fans thought, well, why have we signed this guy? He's a striker who can't score. But he's come to Atletico Madrid. He's obviously enjoying his football, and he's been deployed as this kind of super sub by Simeone. Yeah, and I mean, you see how different players can be. You just got to find the right manager, the right situation, and you can have a ton of success. And Diego Simeone, got to give him credit. This is a very different profile of striker than he has on his club, and brings him in here, and it's been a perfect fit. And he's accepted the role, and he's accepted coming off the bench. And guess what? When he comes off the bench, he's just as dangerous as the players he replaces. So it's a massive accomplishment for Diego Simeone to get him to play at that level, and it's been fantastic for them. Just last point on Barca. They didn't lose the game, which I suppose is a positive. But how do you think they will improve and learn from this performance in the second leg? Again, like we've said it already a couple of times, they don't feel pressure. This team doesn't feel pressure. So I'm assuming they're going to come out. I don't think they're going to do much differently. I think they're going to continue to play their football. They've given up. They've been conceding goals. Some to teams that you worry about it against teams in mid-table sides in La Liga, and some of the teams that they've not found results against, that maybe they should be finding results against. But they're going to concede some goals. Defensively, there's still something to be desired there from them, but they don't feel any pressure. I feel like they come out with the same exact style and they go for it again. I don't think they do anything different. Continuing the conversation about Barcelona, let's have a look at the schedule that they've got coming up. We can compare the two here, but who do you think's got the most difficult schedule coming up? But because for them, they've got Atletico Madrid on March the 16th in La Liga, which is obviously going to be a crucial game. They've got Espanyol in that semi-final in the Copa Catalunya as well on March the 19th. I think what strikes me when I look at this schedule is the difficulty of it, who they're playing, but also how busy it is. They've just got so many games. I think for Barcelona, it's the congestion that'll make it tougher. I do think Atleti has tougher games overall, and we'll take a look at that in just a second. But with this, I mean, look at this. It's this Sunday, then March 5th, March 8th, March 11th. Every 3-4 days, they have another match. That congestion could catch up with them in the long run. Like you said, we talked about how they don't feel pressure because they're so young. Well, the youth might affect them when it comes to the fixture congestion if they don't have the players to rotate and keep them fresh. Here's what Atleti have got to look forward to in the next 7 fixtures. Brutal. It's just brutal. I mean, starting with Athletic Club, that's in fantastic form. They put up 7 goals the other day. Then at Real Madrid in the Champions League, Real Madrid again, Barcelona. I mean, it's tough for Atleti. they bet they were wishing, even though as viewers, obviously, we're very happy with the Madrid derby in the round of 16 of Champions League, but if you're Atleti, you're hoping, maybe not get a Real Madrid in this round of 16 to add to what is already a very complicated schedule.
You do feel, though, that if they can get through this period unscathed, even if they do go out of the Champions League, that will be the litmus test for this team. They're so exciting to watch now. We never would have said that before.